please welcome the incredible Courtney Johnson.
Thank you for having me, Renee.
Thanks for joining me. I feel like I discovered you on Instagram, and I'm going to open up your account right now. So what's your handle on Instagram?
Courtney Johnson.
Courtney, Lynn Johnson. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you were a suggested account. I don't know. But I was searching for some cool people, and I think I reached out to you on DMs. I did. Yeah. Oh, it's because somebody suggested you. That's what it was. Anyway, your content is so cool and so educational. But I'd love to know a little bit about you, how you got into this world of social and personal branding.
Yeah, my background is working at social media / digital media agencies, and I've always been like the director of social media, so running my whole social media department. And I would help create these social media strategies for clients that were at first 100% brand focused, like brand Instagram, brand blog, brand email marketing, all of that. And then I had the idea, let's just take 10% of the budget and the effort and the strategy and put it into personal brand. So then I shifted the strategies we were giving to dozens and dozens of clients to 90% brand Instagram, brand website, brand whatever, 10% personal brand. That could be a founder, that could be a salesperson, that could be the CEO, whatever. We'd put 10% of the effort and budget into the personal brand. Every single time, with absolute no exception, the personal brand, the 10%, the tiny fraction of an effort would supersede the results of the company brand, because people connect with people, not brands, right? People connect emotionally so much easier with people. So once I started seeing that pattern, I was like, all right, I got to do this on my own. I got to go and build personal brands because it's like the ultimate cheat code for marketing.
Why do you think that is?
I think brands are a non-human entity, and it's very hard to evolutionarily to get humans to have an emotional connection to a non-human / non-animal entity. A brand is no thing. It's not a thing. It's just an idea that we're agreeing on. And that takes a lot of repetition, a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. But humans connect with other humans with no resistance. Like most humans connect with others naturally. Like that's literally how our evolution has created us to survive in the world, is to connect with others. So you're not going against literally millions of years of evolution and conditioning. You're going with the flow and you're going just deeper, quicker.
Yeah. So I think of some big brands though, like Wendy's, Burger King. When Threads came out, there was this one like back and forth between these big brands, and they were essentially like jabbing each other, and they were roasting each other, and it was hilarious. So they essentially infused a personality into a brand. Mm-hmm. Is that some of the work that you do or did?
Yeah, definitely. I think infusing personalities into a brand, having a persona, I mean, that's why so much work goes into branding. Like you create this brand and it has a personality. It has its own backstory. Like a lot of times brands are personified. When you're creating a brand, you say, if this brand was a person, who would they be? If they were a car, who would they be? Right? So that type of stuff is fun. I love that. That's great strategy on the point of their social media team. However, a feud between people is probably going to be more memorable to you than a feud between brands, because
if that's why we love the Kardashians.
Exactly. We're just wired to be emotionally connected and curious about people.
So it's funny, there's this woman on LinkedIn who's been messaging me for months, and I'm in this transition of out of my agency into another dimension, essentially. And she's like, Renee, I really want to do your LinkedIn content strategy. And I said to her, honestly, I don't feel like I have anything to talk about because I'm in this weird like transition where I'm not selling anything. And she's like, oh no, people want to hear that journey. They want to know what you're doing and how you're overcoming objections and obstacles in your life, regardless of you trying to always sell something. And I thought that was so fascinating because it reminded me, people want to know the story. My downloads on my podcast, some of the top downloads is when I talked about something personal and vulnerable and there was no guest, because people love to hear your ugly the ugly stuff that happens behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So what are some of those crazy stories? So who do you work with?
I work with a lot of tech founders that I ghostwrite for. And then I work with a lot of like career folks that just want to level up their career. And then other personal brand influencers. Anyone really that's ambitious and knows the value of a personal brand, but is held back by cringe or fear or doesn't really have a plan to get started.
Okay. I think that's most people's hesitation. Like, we know we need to do this. This isn't news. And we know we need to grow an engaged following. And funny enough, I used to run a content marketing, social, and PR agency. And we would write contributed content for our clients for Forbes, Business Insider, Entrepreneur. We wrote weekly LinkedIn articles, blog posts. And this was back like 10 years ago. That stuff worked. And I'm assuming it still works today.
Yeah, it still works. It's crazy because even just LinkedIn, less than 1% of LinkedIn users post once a week. And there's a billion people on LinkedIn. So you're way ahead of the game 10 years ago. But if you start now, you're still going to be ahead of the game. Like, people still have not caught on how powerful posting on LinkedIn and thought leadership in general is, just because nobody else is doing it. And like, if you start posting, you're going to automatically rank in the top 1% of the entire platform of LinkedIn. And though you're like, people are already looking for you. People are already looking to hire you or hire you as a speaker or give you that gig or partner with you. Like, make it easy for them to find you. You know, make it easy, make it an obvious yes.
So LinkedIn is cool. I remember I wrote a little article like a year ago, we'll say as an example, and I hadn't really posted much. And it got a little bit of engagement, like a few likes, a few comments, some impressions, but it was the strangest thing, but the coolest thing is a woman slid into my DMs and asked me about my services. And before I knew it, I landed like a $40,000 PR client.
Yeah.
One little article.
That's the magic. People aren't going to comment and like, I mean, some people do, but most people on LinkedIn are lurkers. Most people are not going to be like commenting, liking. You're not going to get as many views as other platforms. That's fine. The thing is, people are going to be in your DMs being like, hey, you posted this and it reminded me of this other thing I need, or you posted this and that actually is a problem I'm dealing with right now. Can you help me solve it? Like, you're going to re-stimulate an audience that you already have. And for a lot of people, LinkedIn is the biggest audience they have. Like, yeah, maybe they have an Instagram with some friends and family and maybe like a few hundred people. Maybe they have like 200 followers on, I don't know, YouTube or something. But usually people's biggest platform is LinkedIn. You could tap into that audience.
So say we're going to use LinkedIn as the example now. I don't know how to get started. What do I do? How do I post an article? Do I post an article? Like, tell me the game plan, girl.
Yeah, you don't even have to worry about articles. Just do a post, a normal LinkedIn post. Start posting one time per week. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be crazy. In fact, your first posts on any platform are going to suck, and that's okay. But just start posting. I recommend that when people start posting, they start with content curation rather than content creation, because it could take the fear away a little bit. It's a little bit easier to step into. So instead of having to start with creating your own story or thoughts or whatever, just go find a book you like and summarize it. Go listen to a podcast episode and say that this quote from it really helped, or go, clip a video from YouTube of a talk and tag the speaker. Start by curating content. Then once you feel comfortable, start creating content. But if you just start like one time per week, you're going to start seeing results pretty immediately.
That seems so easy. And what would you say is a good distribution of like curation and creation, like 70-30 split when you first start?
Some content creators have gone their entire career just curating and are extremely successful. Like Tim Ferriss is a great example. Like, he doesn't create content. He just curates content. So it depends on what you feel drawn to and what you're excited about. If you're excited about content curation, I actually think that there's a huge opportunity now, since there's so much content, especially with AI. There's going to be even more of a need for curators. But if you feel like really inspired to create, then create. It really doesn't matter. You can be successful either way. I personally probably have like 70% created content, like 30% curated content.
So how do you get over this lack of confidence? So even for me, like, I know that I could post stuff on LinkedIn. Quite frankly, I forget about it. Unfortunately, it's powerful, but there's this fear of showing up to a network, especially LinkedIn, where it seems like everyone is super smart. How do you get over that fear of publishing that content, whether it's created or curated?
Yeah, I mean, the people on LinkedIn are the same people on Instagram, are the same people on TikTok. They're just like wearing a suit. They have a different profile picture. It's the exact same people. Like, it's not, there's no like magic special career folks that come out of nowhere. Like, it's just your boss. It's like your coworker. It's the people you are surrounded, right? It's not as, it doesn't have to be this big, scary thing. In fact, I think if you have a unique approach, if you are posting something crazy or weird, or you are showing up as your authentic self, that's going to really stand out. Like, that's going to actually be awesome. But as far as the fear, honestly, usually our fear of being seen stems from like a childhood trauma where it was not safe to be seen. So I would encourage people in whatever personal practice they have, whether that's like meditating or journaling or prayer or working out or yoga, whatever it is you do, just start to consider the idea of fear of being seen, and something it will come up. But journaling is a great practice for it too, but usually it goes deeper.
100%. And also, the first thing you post is never always the best. Go look at like YouTubers and look at their first videos. They sucked, and they know they did, but they kept posting. And the cool thing about stuff like LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok is if you really don't like it, you can go take it down. You can delete it. People forget about it. You can repost stuff that you posted a few months ago because people aren't going to remember it. And then if they did, it's because it was profound to them that they like to be reminded as well. So about LinkedIn, what type of content performs best?
Right now, video is performing really, really well. I went to LinkedIn's headquarters like a few months ago, and they told me they are actively promoting influencers who are repurposing their reels and TikTok, so like vertical style videos, to LinkedIn. They're actively in their algorithm pushing those. So if you have a day in the life of a project manager for Meta in Austin, Texas, or maybe you have, here's what I learned about leadership, or maybe it doesn't even have to be, honestly, it does not even have to be work related. I would just maybe say work adjacent, something that inspires you, something that is interesting, right? I'm in marketing, so everything is basically work adjacent. But if you're already a content creator, just go repurpose your exact same content. And that's really all you need to do.
I love some of the stuff that you've posted because I love people that are direct, that are vulnerable. And there was one that I landed on about how, and I don't want to shame anybody in saying this, but like the little circle on your LinkedIn profile that says open to work. Mm-hmm. You went to town on that.
Yeah.
And so tell us what you said about the idea of like why you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, the open to work banner is that little green banner that you see on people's profile pictures. And I don't recommend it because I think that people have negative biases around those that have the open to work banner because it does look desperate. Like job searching is like dating. If you have single like heartbreak emoji in your Instagram bio, that's not going to be getting you any dates. Like that's going to be looking desperate. And I know what most people are going to be like, well, I would never discriminate against someone who has an open to work banner. The thing is, this discrimination is not happening consciously. It's happening unconsciously, happening subconsciously beneath the surface. People are looking at your LinkedIn profile, at your resume for a half of a second and making a snap judgment. And their brain unconsciously is gathering all the data from patterns from the past and making a snap judgment on you. And one of these patterns is like desperation. Unfortunately, I wish this wasn't true. I wish we could have open to work banner, but people are going to see you as desperate and it kills your negotiation power. You are not going to be able to negotiate a higher salary if you have that open to work banner.
Dang, it's like single ready to mingle and you'll take anything that comes at you. Mm-hmm. I agree. I so agree with this. Also, don't they say the best ones are already taken? This is in dating. This is in business as well. Like if you're a top performer, you already have a job. You are already building something with somebody else. And the only way for you to skip is actually being recruited. And most people wouldn't even know that you're available. So anyways, going back to like that content, I was like, oh, I love that vulnerability because of course you're going to insult somebody 100%. And you're like, whatever, because this is the truth and you're going to
Mhm.
see it as it is. Do you ever show up to go post something and worry about offending anybody?
No, not really, because I know I'm going to offend people. It's going to happen on every video. It's fine. It's part of it. I think that my message is not for everyone. Like if you were a new grad and you were naive and you put the open to work banner, that's cute, whatever. You're a new grad. You're not expecting a huge salary anyways. It doesn't really matter. You're just trying to get your first job. That's fine. And if you're like a new grad watching that, yeah, you might be like offended and be like, what? Like, I didn't know. It's fine. If my content doesn't resonate with you, it's not the message you need to hear right now, but it does resonate with the people it needs to resonate with. So I've kind of given up on pleasing everyone, because if everybody likes your content all the time, your content's not any good. It probably sucks. Like if you're trying to please everyone. And controversy is pretty good for algorithms. It doesn't have to be heavy controversy. It could be something like, I love to put lemonade in my espresso or something. And people are like, that's crazy. I hate that. That's gross. Who cares? Like, that's the thing that you like. That's the or maybe you love this crazy hat that you're wearing, or maybe you're wearing a sports hat. You're wearing a Cowboys hat. People are going to be in the comments being like, Cowboys suck, right? Well, those mean commenters are little engagement fairies that are sprinkling pixie dust on your post and making it blow up. So you can thank them.
That's a good point. Yeah. Actually, my husband says haters are confused fans, because if they're coming at you publicly with their little cat picture and their numbered name, I mean, first of all, those are nobodies. But if they have real faces, real names, or real people, you hit the nail on the head. It's like they're just adding to the algorithm and possibly making this content go viral.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't even know they're doing it. But also, like, for me, the worry of offending somebody isn't really people I don't know. It's actually people I do know. And that, like, family, friends, and I think like maybe the more vulnerable I get, the better. But I also say that in order to be successful in anything you do in your life, you have to be controversial. And people don't understand that. And what I mean by that is you got to be willing to say the things you know are going to offend somebody. Because if you have a fulfilling career, if you're following your purpose and your passion, people aren't going to agree with that. Even if you're Mother Teresa, people hated Mother Teresa for whatever reason. People hate Taylor Swift because she may have alluded to who she's going to vote for. It's like, who cares? That's her perspective. Now everyone hates her. So, and she doesn't really care. That woman does not care.
Yeah, she doesn't care. Like it's making her more money. She doesn't
That's
care.
it. There's so many fans. So look at the impact, right? So I guess my real question for you, like even outside of LinkedIn, because right now in the world of PR, I've seen this shift in the last 5 years, especially, that in order to grow your social media, at one point, the biggest hit was to get a media hit or to get on a top podcast. That would be the thing that helps you grow your social. Now it's the opposite. Having an engaged social authoritative presence is like the resume to get on top shows, to get in the media. Did you see this shift?
Absolutely. Yeah. Same thing. I mean, it's crazy. It's almost like you need to have the qualification of having a certain amount of followers or having a certain amount of engaged audience to be taken seriously in with some things. I'm working on a book right now, and the publishers and the agents are like, yeah, sorry, if you want to write a book in 2024, you need to have a following. Like that, you need to have proof of concept. We need to be able to see that you've talked about this topic and that people like it and resonate with it. Because if you don't, they're taking a huge gamble, but they're able to and same with like podcast hosts, press, whoever, if they can see that your message is already resonating, it's not a gamble for them. It's a like slam dunk. And of course they're going to want to have you, feature you, publish your work, whatever.
What do you think is like the minimum viable following these days? Because back in the day, it used to be 10,000 on Instagram. It's like once you got there, you unlocked another level. And you did technically, because there were certain things that became available to you. What is that number now?
I actually don't think it's a specific number. I think it depends on your industry and what you're trying to do. For example, I have a client that is in a very niche, like ultra scientific, environmental science, analytics whatever. And she has like 2,000 followers, and she's getting flown across the world to speak. She's the top of her industry. Everyone knows her with 2,000 followers, but there's really only like 5,000 people with this entire role. So she's owning a big share of the market. Another example, my partner has a podcast about vascular surgery, and every podcast episode, like 500 people listen to it. Well, there's only like 1,200 vascular surgeons in the world. So like it owns the market, right? So just think about your market. If your market is really small, or your niche or area of expertise is really small, you don't have to have a big following at all. If it's something big, if it's music, if it's marketing, if it's these big, yeah, maybe you're going to have like 100,000 followers plus, but not if you have a strong niche, like a small niche.
That is why going niche is really important. So let's rewind a little bit. Sometimes, like, I'm looking at these notes that I've taken from what you've said, and incredible stuff, is what are we sharing? How do we know what to share? What type of content, the formatting, the things that we're actually saying? Like, how do you know what to say when you show up? That's the question people have. For me, it's like, if I see the outline over the next week, I can easily show up and create the stories and the reels. If it's not there, I get stuck like a deer in headlights. So how do you do this?
Something that helps me is just documenting what I'm already doing. Like, I'm on a call with a client, they ask me a question, I write that question down. Immediately after, I'll make a TikTok answering that question. Or a friend asks for help, or I notice myself saying the same thing over and over. I just try, instead of brainstorming, I just try to document, because I guarantee whatever you're doing in your day-to-day life, you're probably answering the same question over and over. You're probably giving the same spiel over and over. You're probably teaching the same thing over and over. So just start to clock those things and create content about them when they naturally come up.
I love that. Document over brainstorm. Mm-hmm. Like opening a notes file on your phone and just bleh, right? Mm-hmm. Where do you get most of your inspiration?
Honestly, I just get ideas if I'm on a walk or doing laundry or driving. Anytime where my brain is shut off, I just get ideas that usually are processed through some sort of situation I had recently been through or something I overcame. It just, I don't know, downloads to my brain, and I keep thinking about the topic over and over, and it doesn't leave, like a song stuck in my head, until I write it down and create content about it.
Oh, I love it. I have a huge notes file on my phone. It's almost like I want to just give this to somebody and say, make it happen, which is what you do, right?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I help people like strategize their content. So many people come to me and they're like, I have a 20-page Notion document and my full content strategy and 400 different posts, but I've never posted. So sometimes the problem is not topic ideas. It's like fear of posting. And so people will be in analysis paralysis. But honestly, as far as like just coming up with good ideas, I think going through the Artist's Way program, you can get it on Amazon for like $20.
Love
so good.
Julia Cameron. Yeah. The best thing. One of the best things I've ever done in my life is this book. How many weeks is it? Like 16 or something like that?
I don't remember. I don't think I've ever done it correctly. I think I'm like bop around, but I feel like my best ideas come when I'm following the Artist's Way program.
So tell us about the Artist's Way. I talked about this a lot on this show, but if you're new to it, tell us about it.
It's really just a book about connecting with your creative self, because everyone is a creator. Everybody is an artist. And it teaches you how to tap into that creative energy and creative flow. So 2 things that it really helps me with: 1, get ideas. It helps me get really good ideas. And 2, it helps me get into a flow state. So one of the practices from it that I think is powerful is just journaling every morning, like right when you wake up, 3 pages of free writing. I find that when I do that, I get the best content ideas for social media, because social media is like an art form. Like, it's just another medium to express. You can paint something to tell a message, you can make a movie, and you can make a social media post. And I think one day there will be like a museum of curated social media posts, and it will be seen as an art form, like art medium.
You should do it. You should do it. That's Courtney Johnson, artist. You can sign it at the bottom. Yes. Okay. So a couple things is personal brand, but I want to ask you really what we know is working now. How the F do you grow an engaged social following?
Yeah. There's a lot of elements to this, but the main thing is you just have to post consistently. This is not a game of being the best at creating content. This is not a game of having the best editing skills or whatever. It's really just a game of consistency. That is the most important. If you post consistently, you're going to see the patterns. You're going to improve. It's like, how do you learn to play guitar? Like, I could tell you, you could
By
do this,
doing.
you could do that, whatever. Practice every single day. That's the only way. The only people that become great guitar players are people that play guitar every day. So post every day.
So what you're saying is that it's just about daily practice,
Yep.
but actually pressing publish.
Yeah, it's a skill. It's a skill that you can be good at, but you're going to start off sucking. Give yourself permission. Like, it's same as if you were learning a guitar. Same, give yourself permission to riff on the guitar, make something that sounds bad, just like mess around with it for fun. Don't take it too seriously. You're going to continue to improve and improve. And like, that is how you do social media. Social media is a skill. Commit to post, at least when you're starting, commit to posting every single day. When I started, I printed out a paper of 365 circles and colored in a circle every single day. And I'm like, I gotta post 365 posts in 1 year. And if the person that has 365 posts at the end of a year versus the person that just has 12 posts, like, who's going to be a better content creator at the end of the year? Who's going to have a bigger audience? The person that posted every day, of course.
That is the flex. That is the ultimate flex. So it's okay to have a crappy first draft, and it's just about doing. It's like taking that first step. What is one of your most viral posts?
Ooh, one of my most viral posts, that's definitely my most controversial. Oh my gosh, I actually had to take it down. But it said what my wealthy friends versus my broke friends talk about at dinner. And that one.
Ooh, why'd you take it down? I want to know.
I took it down because people were getting a little violent.
Offended.
But violent, like wanted to unalive me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take this down.
Okay, wow. That's a bit much.
I know. I've never dealt with that level. I actually didn't fully take it down. I just made it private so only I can see it. But maybe I should unprivate it. Maybe this is going to,
Wait, how long ago was that?
a month maybe?
Oh, okay. So this recently happened.
Yes, recently.
So what are the conversations between the two?
So I was broke my whole life. So I have lots of broke friends. And I just know, and mind you, I live in Austin, Texas, where everyone that has money is like self-made, right? This is, I know that probably generational wealth people, I don't know any of them, right? I only know wealthy people that are self-made, are entrepreneurs. So I find that when I'm around my friends that are self-made and really successful, they're always talking about like self-development, improving themselves. They're talking about their latest gym routine. They're talking about their consultant they're working with. They're talking about a leadership program that they're taking, goal setting. They're always talking about like their goals. They're talking about the next thing they're working on. And then when I'm around my friends that don't have as much money, they're broke, they're chilling, whatever, they typically talk about like celebrities, sports, pop culture, stuff like that, where the conversation doesn't really go into self-improvement topics. And I just find this pattern interesting. Listen, I like pop culture. I like talking about celebrity gossip. I like talking about sports. Like, that's all great. But when I'm around the people that are self-made, super successful, they're not spending their time talking about that. They're spending their time wanting to share resources and tips and ideas with other with other people that are also successful. And I've learned a lot from that. I've actually taken my mindset from only interacting with my friends, talking about celebrity gossip and reality TV to, no, I want to make sure I'm starting the conversation with, how are we working on ourselves? How are you? How's your business? What are you doing? What are your goals?
That's fascinating. I remember not that long ago, I was chatting with a woman and she asked me what shows I was watching on Netflix or whatever, Hulu. And I'm like, oh, I'm not watching anything. And then she just stared at me like, what do you do with your time? Like, we are a household of creators before consumers. That is the rule. I have an 11 and a 12-year-old boy. My 12-year-old son has a YouTube channel that has 2.5 thousand followers on it. And he publishes shorts and YouTubes because we are a household of creators, not consumers. We consume by way of books, by way of audiobooks, by way of podcasts, but we don't consume necessarily for entertainment reasons. We consume to be a better version of ourselves. And so to this woman, she's like she was twitching. I go, try it out. How about if you really need to watch something, subscribe to Masterclass or go follow YouTube channels that are educational, that have little snippets of stuff that interests you. And there's nothing wrong at all by like Netflixing and chilling. I have those moments too, but on a daily basis, I can't even remember the last time I watched a show. It's been weeks. It's been weeks. I get it. I posted something not that long ago about, I said something like controversial, like all rich people are greedy or something. And then underneath it, I said something very similar. I go, when you put good money in great hands, they do great things. And that was the whole point of it. It's like we all have the opportunity and the possibility to be wealthy. We do. Most people just tell themselves this story, this victim story, but I can do that because I was not handed the right cards at birth. You just said most of the people that you associate with are self-made, and they probably had really crappy childhoods. And then look at them.
Yeah, I was in the victim world for a long time. I was dealt shitty cards. I was dealt crappy cards. I thought that I would never be, I'm never going to buy a house. I'm never going to be able to start a business. I just don't. And immediately when I was so frustrated, where I'm like, I have no other choice but to gaslight myself into thinking I can do it. And I did. Also, I love what you're saying about your house being a house of content, or not content, your house being of creators, not just consumers. That's so amazing. I'm going to write that down and like put it somewhere in my house, because it just like reframes your mindset for everything. Because maybe even you can create art, you can create new things, new ideas, bring people together, create an event. Like the fact that you're teaching your kids that is so amazing.
We are creators, not consumers. And think about that in all areas of your life too. And going back to the artist's way, she says in the book, whether or not you believe in God, or whatever you believe in, is that we are all artists. We all have artistry in us, and our purpose in life is to serve God through that art, however that shows up for you. So for you, it's the work that you do. For me, it's this podcast and the work I do, because it's so fulfilling. The moment you know the thing you're working on is fulfilling and it doesn't feel like work, that's your art. That's what it is. And you got to double click on that, because people are watching, you are making an impact, you're changing lives. We're all here to heal together, right? We're a big village on this globe shooting through the universe.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. That's amazing.
So personal branding, what exactly is that?
Personal brand is just how people perceive you and how you perceive yourself. And it's a feedback loop of mirrors, of you're showing someone who you think you are, and then they're reflecting that back. And so personal brand can reflect in a lot of ways. It can be how you show up online, how you show up in person, how you speak. And it's important to put intentional work into your personal brand, because it really shapes who you are. And I used to be really resistant to personal brand because I thought it wasn't authentic. For example, I went to journalism school and I thought it was not authentic if I went to the voice classes, because I had an accent, my East Texas accent. And I'm like, it's not authentic if I learn to pronunciate my words, right? But I realized that's just a step in how people perceive me and my personal brand. And maybe for some people, they're like, I want to speak like this or that. But for me, I realized that just by changing a bit how I speak and learning how to communicate properly, changed how people were reflecting back at me. And that kind of started this spiral, a positive spiral for personal brand creation. So then I started altering other little things. Oh, can I learn this? Can I learn how to talk to people? Can I learn how to network? And then can I learn how to put myself out there? Can I learn how to share my work? And that all of these little touch points create your personal brand. Like it's powerful.
I think it's easier too to follow a path, especially niche and content creation, if you have this personal brand. Because really, my perspective too is that you're setting the standard for certain beliefs and values, and that's your personal brand. And so, whatever that is, and guess what? We all have it, and we might not know it, but whatever you're doing now is your personal brand. If you're this quiet person that likes to knit, then that's who you are. That's what you love to do. For me, it's exploring, it's growing, it's trying new things. My personal brand is really about being authentic and vulnerable and inclusive. It's about being a safe place for people to come to. And my husband, his is really about motivating youth. It's really about making a really big impact in this world. So we all have it. And it's not reserved for the people that have millions of followers and billions of dollars. It's reserved for all of us to have this personal brand. You just gotta do it. And you've inspired me now to create, because I have a blank wall right here, to create a calendar that has 365 dots on it and post something every single day.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to be about, but I'll figure it out.
You can also repurpose. But it is a great practice to create new things every single day.
Yeah, I always feel compelled to create new. I was actually just on another show and we were talking about creating content. And she said to me, oh, even the podcast. She's like, I'm surprised you haven't repurposed older episodes that did really well like years ago. And I'm like, duh. Like if it was a home run 3 years ago, people probably don't remember it. Why not just let it go again? And then even with social, like, let's be honest, how far back do people really scroll on Instagram?
Not that far.
No. And I feel like you posted a couple things twice, I could be wrong, that weren't even that far apart.
All the time. I do it all the time. Also, you can just record a different version or create a different version of the post. Maybe you're just having two versions with two different hooks. You're going to test that out. Maybe they're just slightly different wording. Maybe one's a little longer. Maybe one's a little shorter. That's powerful because it not only do you get double the content, but you also get a lot of really good insights you can then take into your future content. So maybe, it's interesting. My audience doesn't really resonate with that hook, but they resonate with this hook. Or, every time I post the longer version, it doesn't perform as well as the shorter version. Like you can find this really great, data that can inform like creating an even better content strategy.
Yeah. Check the insights. Always check the insights. And like, look at the things that performed well and just do that again and again. Most people don't need to be educated. They need to be reminded. And again, and again, because there's so much coming at them that they'll forget the story unless it was really, really, really important to them. Like I think about this image that I think Jim Quick, I'm pretty sure it was him that shared on Instagram. And there was two images, one on the top, one on the bottom. And it said, the top one is, this is what people think consistency is. And it's 5 cups of water that are perfectly full. And underneath it, it said, this is what consistency really is about. And all 5 cups had different levels of water in it. So it's not about doing the perfect thing all the time. It's about just doing the thing, showing up, posting that reel, reposting that post, just getting kind of vulnerable and not be perfect about it. Yes. Perfection is like the killer on social. Yes. All right. Any last minute?
Go ahead.
That's it. What are like any last tips or what are the cool cats doing these days? What's going on?
The cool cats are being self-expressed. The cool cats are not worrying too much. The cool cats are having fun with it and realizing it's not that serious. We're just here to create and inspire others. And if that means having some fun experiments on social media that don't go great, that's totally fine. Don't take it that seriously. Have fun with it.
It's true. I love it. Okay, I got one last question for you. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
I love the phrase wild woman, so I love that. Your podcast is Into the Wild.
Yeah.
To me, being a wild woman means that you're not following expectations of others and you're really going deep into your soul of what your soul wants and following through on that. Maybe, and that looks different to everyone. Maybe it's that you don't want this traditional career. Maybe it's that you don't want this traditional expectation. It's really just tapping into your soul's desire.
I love it. Courtney, if people want to go online to find you, follow you, to figure out what they can do for their social presence, where can they go?
On Instagram, you can find me at Courtney Johnson, and TikTok is Courtney Johnson, and you'll find all my stuff on those pages.
Yeah, there's a lot of Courtney Johnsons out there. How many followers you got on TikTok? You got quite a few.
Oh, I think like 240,000.
Dang, that's amazing. I love TikTok for the one moment in my week when I'm in the hot tub. But there's also like some really educational and entertaining stuff on TikTok, and yours is one of them. This has been awesome. I actually have a full page of notes and some inspiration to really kick myself in the pants to get started on this. But it was so great chatting with you, Courtney. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Renee.